Hey there, YouTube. It's been a while, hasn't it? So, um, I promised this channel wasn't going to become Little Miss Witchy whatnot, but I feel it's important to tell this story. Um, I've been on my pagan spiritual path since, I guess, almost 9 years now. And how I describe myself is as an agnostic Norse pagan. I'm not sure the gods are real, but I get a lot out of my spiritual practices. And when I was a child, I would watch a show called Xena Warrior Princess, and of all the gods and goddesses, whatnot, the ones that I connected to, the ones that I felt a little extra inspiration from, the ones that I thought were just a little extra cool in my little 7-year-old mind, were the Norse gods. Because in Xena Warrior Princess, at one point, she hangs out with Beowulf as he's exploring and fighting in the Norse lands, Norse Germanic lands. And then on into high school, we had a unit in my German class where we learned about the old gods of Germany. Wotan, who is the equivalent of Odin in Norse. And as I made my way out of the Abrahamic religion that I was raised in and became an atheist in college, I still considered myself to be an ally to pagans, to Wiccans, because I thought that they just had something else going on that I respected. And as I got to learn more about paganism from them at that point, when I was in my early 20s, while I still defaulted to logic, reason, particularly as I was learning more and more about how the human brain works, I still would defend a pagan, and I would defend a Wiccan, or anybody who follows the old ways. And you're probably hearing my wife's dog barking in the background because she's being a little shit. So, and I was an atheist for a good 10 years. But about 9 years ago, so it would have put me in my late 20s, I got to a point where I couldn't ignore stuff anymore. And I picked up my first book. And it was Norse Paganism by D.J. Conway. And I read it cover to cover. And then I read her Celtic version, cover to cover. And from Wisdom from Blue Sage Dragon, it's just one of my longtime online acquaintances, I decided to start an apprenticeship and just see where it would go. And so that apprenticeship led me to studying, reading a ton of books, covering herbology, basic practices, studying more in-depthly the gods and goddesses of the Norse system, studying the sagas, studying a book about the main authors of how we know about Norse paganism, the people who told the tales through the bloody rampage of Christianity. In particular, Snorri Sturluson, who was a Christian, but he wrote down the old tales, the old verbal tales that would have been all spoken word during the bloody rampage of Christianity, as Christianity was burning anybody who would not, burning and murdering anybody who would not convert. And in that time period, I got little nods, little wins. And that just kind of reinforced that I was on the right path. Come spring of 2017, I officially washed off my baptism. I took blessed sage and blessed water and officially washed off any claim that Jehovah had to me. So there is So Yahweh, Jehovah, the God of Abraham, has absolutely no claim to me. He has no power over me. He has no power to send me anywhere. He has no place in my home, in my heart, or anywhere near me. And then I took my vows of paganism. I took the vow to study, to learn, and to live as a pagan. To give respect to those entities you give respect to, which in paganism you give respect to your ancestors, you give respect to the gods, and you give respect to nature. Which during my 3 years of apprenticeship, I got in touch with the family historian, particularly through one of my family lines, and I learned so much about the family and about the family heroes. And I learned so much about the gods, and I learned a lot about nature and connecting with nature. And I feel honestly that I tread a lot lighter on nature now, even if I live a modern industrial life. And so, since 2017, my Facebook, how I describe myself, even into when I had to fill out something for a medical thing, yep, I'm pagan. That's how I describe my religion. And I get little nods. I get little wins. I get those things that would reinforce a person's spiritual path. When I was a barista, at one point, I was part of a really big project toward the end of my time with that company. And as that really big project was being put into play, I did a regular rune draw. So little rune tiles. And the two that I frequently got were ice and hail. Ice represents stagnation. Hail represents destruction with seeds of the future. Seeds of opportunity. And yeah, it was probably within 3 months of that major project coming to fruition that I put in my 2 weeks notice and had found a new job and a new career. I still work in coffee, but I work in it in a different manner. Now, many of you longtime folks who've known me for quite a while know I have a degree in psychology. Psychologically, these little wins, these little nods, what is that in the human brain? That is confirmation bias, completely. I want this to happen, therefore I'm going to acknowledge it more when this happens. It is hyper-awareness. Hyper-awareness and priming. Because I have made myself more aware of this situation, I'm going to be extra noticing of things that I need to notice, and therefore confirmation bias after that of, hey, I was extra noticing because I did this magical charm. Yeah. Acknowledging and feeling things. The human body is good at dumping massive amounts of serotonin and dopamine, happy chemicals, at very opportune times, because sometimes that reinforcement might benefit a person in the long run. Sometimes not. Sometimes it actually might take them down a very dark and distinguished path of stuff that they don't even realize is dark. Stuff that they don't even realize could cause harm. So, the reason I wanted to talk about this is that I think it's an important conversation to have. Now, when I have my little wins, is it confirmation bias? Probably. Is it positive priming and seeing the payoff of that positive priming? Yeah, I'll acknowledge it. Religion doesn't make sense, but religion doesn't make sense in massive miracles. But when humans acknowledge stuff, that's when you get miracle. Miracle with small m, if you would. To anybody who might see this who's actually part of my family, yes, I am talking about my medical situation. My hair's not short because I shaved it because I'm Little Miss Dykey shit. My hair's falling out because I'm on chemotherapy. I've got cancer. But I just got good news that my cancer has shrunk by half. And yeah, I've got confirmation bias of I asked the higher powers, the beings, the energies, to help my team do their best. That's what I asked for. I didn't ask for a miracle. I didn't ask for healing. I just asked for my ancestors, for the gods and goddesses that I'm particularly close to help my team do their best. And I will fully admit, part of the reason why I'm doing so good with my cancer is that I live in the year 2022. And not only has there been massive armies of research put toward the chemotherapy that I'm on, but also all the supportive therapies, all the things that are making it easier for me to tolerate the chemotherapy, and the education of the people who are helping me, from the pharmacists to the oncologists to the nurses to even the people who schedule my appointments. Their education has come so far in 20 years. The knowledge base of, well, how do you deal with mouth sores? 20 years ago, they put you in the hospital. Now, I've got certain things that I do going by the National Cancer Society's guidelines. So, am I being healed miracle style by some... Probably not. But I am acknowledging the confirmation bias of I'm doing good because my chances are good. And perhaps a little magic's playing in there too. But from my perspective and by where I standpoint, it's simply people doing their best. Hopefully they're being helped along by the external energies of the universe, or at least they're being encouraged. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, and I wanted to have this discussion today. So, peace out.